What's up? Welcome back. Today I wanted to review with my good friend Sebastien the episode 1 and 2 of Secret Invasion, the new Marvel series show that just came out. So we're a little bit late, so that's why we're going to review the first one and the second one um, right now. But then every week we're going to do every following episode until the end. What did I think about this series? Well, the first episode. Oh yeah, before we get into it, this is going to be a spoiler discussion, right? So if you haven't seen the series, maybe go watch it, then come back. But yeah, what did I think of it? I thought it was great. I thought it was a great start to a series. I love the characters. I love how it's. I love the theme. I love the sounds, everything about it. I think it's great. What are your thoughts about it?
So I think it's very original story writing. So at the very first scene of the show, you're shown a character which has been there like for at least 10 years in the MCU, I think, and it just reveals that all this time it was a scroll, and so it sets the tone for the whole series where you don't know which characters. Like you're really in the shoes of Nick Fury, where there is a lot of scrolls running out there, and you have no idea which is it. And they did a really good job at making sure that you're in the same vibe as Nick Fury is, right? And I think I appreciate that a lot about this show.
I agree. So I guess that's perfect. We'll start exactly with that. The first scene. It's Everett Ross, the character we've seen in Black Panther 1. I think seen him in Black Panther 2 as well, and I think in a
Yep.
few other things. And
I
he
think it was in
enters.
a few Captain Americas also. Uh,
Perhaps. Anyway, he was in a few movies, and I really liked him. But yeah, so the first scene is he enters a house, and what is he being told? Do you remember what he's being told?
So yeah, he's being told basically about this scroll conspiracy thing, and it's really funny that the only person that the guy trusts is actually one of the scroll he's talking about. So yeah,
Yeah, we're so
that
we're
was
we're talking about the
sorry,
Prescott. Prescott is the name of the agent. It's
right?
another. I think he's part of Shield. Am I correct? I think he's part of Shield.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
and
Yeah,
so yeah, he contacts Everett Ross. That's
yeah,
why Everett Ross is there, and he tells him that the scroll has invaded the Earth. Yeah, that is the premise of the series. So, if you guys remember, with Captain Marvel, the scrolls came on Earth after being. So they were attacked. They were attacked by the Krees, and then the one that fled. There were some of them that went on Earth. I think it was in 1995. After the Captain Marvel movies, right? So the Skrull have invaded the Earth. That's the premise of the series, and the second part of it is that there's many different terrorist attacks that are all been linked, and Prescott believes that it's all a front from the Skrulls, right? And what is important, I think Ross says, I can't bring Nick Fury here for no reason. I need proof. And immediately the guy has evidence. He has evidence for that. So immediately when he has evidence, what does he do? Do you remember?
well, I also felt like he was asking for evidence so that he could know if he needed to act, right? Since obviously he's in the other team.
Exactly.
So I think he was pushing for information so that he would make a decision based on that. Do I kill him or whatever? But yeah, I
And
think
then, yeah. he- well, actually,
yeah,
actually, so what happens in that scene is that when he asks for the evidence, he's like, oh, if you give me the evidence, I'll bring it to Nick Fury. And he's like, maybe I don't have to kill that guy. But the second he
right.
asks for evidence, Prescott jumps on him. He understands. He's a little bit maybe overly cautious and immediately jumps on Ross and attacks him, knowing that he is a Skrull. We're a little bit later after the chase scene.
Yeah.
We learn he's a Skrull. But yeah, that's the thing I was wondering, because you just said that you thought you think because yeah, you think that that whole time Ross was a Skrull, right?
Right. That's
Because
it. Yeah. That's what I
because
think.
for me, I thought it was like so Ross still exists and wasn't a Skrull, and that's just impersonator that just like maybe they
Right.
took him and whatnot, and so we don't know for how long the Ross we've seen on screen has been a scroll or not, which is really
That's
cool.
true. Yeah.
Which is really cool. So yeah, at that scene, it seems like it's in self defense, but I think it's pretty obvious that he was gonna kill him if he didn't give the evidence, right? So the next scene, Ross is on the run, and I don't know if you noticed, but he was super athletic in that scene. For me, it was
Yeah.
he like overly athletic. So I think he was like jumping or like on cars and stuff, slidings on rails, on railing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the only ways that you can identify scrolls is that they have superhuman strength, right? They
Mhm.
are much stronger. They can jump much higher. They can run a lot faster, a lot longer. They live longer. They are immune to radioactivity. So then when you see these superhuman feats, is the only thing that differentiates them with
That
humans, right?
that can confirm 100% that they're
Yeah,
scrolls, right?
exactly. That or cutting their fingers, right?
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, but let's try not to talk about episode 2. But yeah, so just episode 1 right now. But yeah, so there's the chase scene, and what happens at the end of the chase scene is that Ross falls down like a three series tall building, and he's hurt. And Maria comes to meet him. And yeah, that's where we learn officially he's a scroll. But also, the Russian who was chasing him was also a scroll, but it was Talos.
Right.
Talos is the scroll that we know once again from Captain Marvel. I'm not sure we've seen him
Yep.
in other stuff, but he's the good good scroll if you want, or the
Yeah,
nice
exactly.
scroll, right?
No, I think he was only in Captain Marvel
Only in
before this
Captain
series.
Marvel.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Did you like him in Captain Marvel, by the way?
Yeah, I did. Like the plot twist that he changes side is like is explainable. Like you don't know why they want to kill Nick Fury and then change their minds so quickly, but then the backstory kind of makes sense. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I kind of like the depth of the characters and all of these scrolls. Like sure they want to protect their race, but they're also not on the same line, right? They're scrolls fighting each other, and I think the depth of these characters is really well done, and
Yeah,
that's another thing I appreciate about the show.
yeah, and that's exactly it. We I think in this show we're gonna explore much more that storyline of like there's good scroll, but there's bad scroll too, right? I think this is gonna
Right.
be a really interesting storyline.
And
Uh,
nobody is like sitting on either side like permanently or just killing humans for the sake of killing humans, right?
yep.
If a scroll is on one side, he's usually there because of preservation of the race or reasons like that. But some of them feel bad for killing the humans. Some of them are just fearing their leaders, right? Some of them want to switch side because they realize what they're doing is wrong, and like there are all kinds of characters on
Yeah.
either side that want to switch side or whatever. So yeah, I think it makes up for an interesting story.
So yeah, yeah, it's really cool. I'm really excited. So basically, that the whole chase scene was the whole introduction to the series. Because right after that, we jump into the generic of the series. What do you think about the generic? Do you like it?
I don't remember any generic honestly.
It's like super weird. It's super cool, super weird, but a lot of
Right,
different colors that changes with the thematic music.
right, and I think
I'll put it on
there's
screen right
a
now.
there's a green king swapping for a green queen at the end, something like that.
That's true. Yeah, like
Uh,
a chess
right,
piece, right? Oh
yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
that's true. There's a whole later in this episode we have a chess scene with Fury
Yeah,
and Maria Hill. So I guess like that's one of the thematic with the whole chess thing of like planning moves and stuff. So we'll have to see how the chess theme is gonna factor in this series.
yeah, that's true.
So yeah, after the generic, we start with another scene which is super cool, and it's Nick Fury beamed down from what seems to be a spaceship, which is called the Saber, right? So Nick Fury
Yeah.
is being beamed from outer space. So yeah, do we know what Saber is? I'm not sure if we heard about Saber in any of the Marvel series or Marvel movies. Have we ever heard Saber? I don't think so.
I think it was mentioned as something that Nick Fury was working on in other shows and movies. We've never like really seen it, except that on the few shots inside this Secret Invasion series. But then I would
Well, we've
assume based on the name, that's like Shield is to protect the Earth and Saber is to attack the threats that. would like harm it, right? Just based on the name. But other than that, I don't think it
That's a
was
good point. That's a good point.
explained.
Yeah, and but actually, I think we've seen a single shot from the after credit scene of Spider-Man: Far From Home, where we see Nick Fury in the spaceship, but we only see him, and then he walks
Right.
out, and that's it. So we knew he was in a spaceship of some sort. So yeah, he's
That's
being
true.
beamed down from Saber, and I really like that shot. It was really interesting. It was like at first you're not sure if it's Nick Fury. It looks like a alien with a long neck. I'm not sure if you've have noticed that, but then after like a few frames, we can really see it. It's Nick Fury. He walks out. I really love that shot. Nick Fury. He walks out and he's old. He looks beaten down. He doesn't have his eye patch. If I'm correct, did he lose his eye patch when he was snapped? Because like his eye patch stayed in New York when
And
he
it fell
was
on the
snapped.
ground.
Maybe, and
I
then
I don't
I don't,
remember actually.
that could be the case. I'm not sure.
Well, it's really easy to just make another one and put it. So I think it's like a personal decision that he doesn't want
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
wear it anymore. So it also shows like the character psychological development, right? Where
Yeah,
after Thanos' snap, he's so like destroyed and not
yeah.
feeling well anymore, and he like renounces like his strong identity with the eye patch, right? He's just a whole different character now.
And he's also limping, right? So do we know why he's limping? Is he hurt? Is it? Are we are we supposed to know, or do you think we're going to learn that in the series?
I think we're going to learn it further into the stories. I don't think it's just him being old, but yeah, I
Hmm.
can't wait to see.
Yeah, and yeah, and who's there to pick him up? It's Maria Hill. So Maria Hill, obviously, I think it's probably Nick Fury's best friend, or at least best professional friend, at least. They both
Yeah,
trust each other a lot, so it makes a lot of sense that it's Maria Hill that picks him up, and they're heading to a safe house, right? So they go to the
yep.
safe house, and who's at the safe house? It's Talos. So I think it's been a long time since Talos and Nick Fury have seen each other, right? So,
A few years.
yeah, so Nick Fury was, well, actually, I think we learn what happened during that time, right? So there's, Fury was snapped, but I think Talos wasn't. Am I correct?
It's not explicitly
It's not,
explained. So yeah, we don't know at this point, honestly. We know that half of the skulls has been snapped as well, but we don't know if Thanos was snapped or not. If Talos was
Talos,
snapped or
yeah.
not. Sorry, not Thanos. But yeah, but Talos was reproaching to Nick that he changed after coming back, right?
Hmm.
So we don't know
So
Talos.
probably Talos
Yeah,
wasn't
makes sense.
snapped, right? And also, he also mentioned that he mentioned a lot of important things that scene. He mentioned first that that Soren is dead, so that's a Talos's wife, right? If I'm correct,
Yeah,
and the mother of his child. And then he also mentioned that, and I have the exact quote: "We've been helping you for so long, as long as you keep your promise." But with the blip, he disappeared. Yeah, Nick Fury disappeared. Carol disappeared too. So we know that Nick Fury has a promise that he did, but then he never actually did it, right? I think we learned that in that scene.
yeah.
But what is that promise? We don't know, or we don't know
Not
at
at this
this
point. Yeah.
point. We don't know at this point. Uh, so yeah, there's something about a promise, and Nick Fury has been gone for a long time. So that's another thing. So Nick Fury's gone for a long time. There's a promise he never fulfilled. Soren is dead, and we also learn about Gravik, right? So who's Gravik?
Yeah.
Can you tell me about Gravik?
So Gravik, at this point, we only know that he's like the son of Talos. Is he?
No, well, we learned it in the next episode, I think. But he is one of the. Well, first of all, I think at that
I
point
think
we.
in Captain America, we the name was mentioned. Was it?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I know what I know is that at that point, uh, Gravik was one of the was one of the scroll, and he was there when Nick Fury did his promise, because it says that Gravik didn't appreciate the abandonment of Nick Fury, right? And he
Right.
took it harder. I think that's what Talos said. He took it harder than the other Skrulls. And yeah, we also learned that Gravik is now the newest member of the Skrull Council, and he preys on the collective rage of young Skrulls, right? So he's like a
Yep.
leader of an extremist group. Is that like a safe to say? Extremist
Yeah.
Skrull group, I would say.
Yeah. Extremists among the scrolls. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we also learn in that scene that he's in Russia. And why are they in Russia? It's because Russia has a lot of abandoned nuclear plants, which are off the grids, and the Skrulls are immune to radioactive, right? So that's where they're hiding.
Exactly.
So that's why everyone's in Russia. We have the Skrulls in Russia. Nick Fury is there with Talos and Maria Hill to stop that rebellion. And yeah, we've learned a lot in that scene. Another thing we've learned, I have here in my note, is that Prescott was monitoring a radical group, which was called the American Against Russia. And this would be the next Skrull front for a terrorist attack, right? So that's why they're all here to stop that. And this would obviously could cause a war between the U.S. And Russia. And the way
Yep.
they're going to do it is by getting a bomb which is located in Kazakhstan, right? So I think we're all caught up here. That's what's happening for this episode. There's a bomb. There's an attack a terrorist attack that's gonna happen, which is probably a Skrulls attack, right? So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts here. I was really interested in the story at that point. I was like, okay, let's go. Let's see what happens, right? And it immediately it cuts to Colonel Rhodes talking with the U.S., which gives more information about Nick Fury, that he left Saber, and also that Agent Fury, and I have the exact quote again, Agent Fury is building one of the most complex aerospace defense system in the history of mankind. So that's what Nick Fury was doing on Saber, apparently, right?
Right.
Uh,
Apparently.
yeah, and we also learned that Mara Hill was the one who sent a message, an encrypted message to Fury. That's why he came down to Earth. And then Rhodes is asked to deal with the issue of Nick Fury and Maria Hill. So yeah, I like that. I like that Rhodes is like placed in a position where he's going to be against his, I guess, former leader, Nick Fury.
Yep.
And he has to like stop. I don't know. I like the fact that once again, like you mentioned, there's a lot of different good and bad guys. There are a lot of different motive for the Americans, for the Russians, for the Skrulls, for all those different groups. There's good, there's bad, or like there's gray. There's just gray characters. Characters are not sure
Yeah.
if they're doing the right thing, which is really cool.
Yeah. A little bit like Thanos in the first episode, right? Where
Mhm.
clearly like he is going to be a mass murderer, but still he still wants to do the right thing, and in his mind he's like saving the whole universe, and all of the lives he's sparing are like being saved in his view.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'll always prefer these great characters that think they're doing something for the greater good, while also doing very horrible things, right?
Mhm. No, exactly. And what do you think about Rhodes? Do you like that character, Colonel Rhodes?
Yeah, yeah. I think Rhodes is like one of the most down to earth characters.
Mm-hmm.
He tries to keep it all together, and like even though he likes Nick Fury, he's still gonna do what he thinks is right for his country, right? So yeah, I think he's an interesting character.
Mm-hmm. And I love the fact of this series that like, I mean, there's a little bit of superpowers with Skrulls that like are a little bit stronger, can more athletic, and all of these. But
Yeah,
like here we have Rhodes, and in the first episode at least, we never see him wearing his War Machine suit. So it's not War Machine; it's really Rhodes,
yeah,
which is he's just there as like a political figure for the U.S. He's just trying to do the good thing while being a superhero at the same time. I just love that. I love that there's no superpower involved as of yet. I'm hoping that's gonna stick, but we'll have to see, right?
right.
All right. Next up, Nick Fury says he goes on a walk, right? But actually, he goes on a walk and he gets captured by Russians, right? And who is responsible for capturing him. It's a woman called Sonia. So, can you tell me something about Sonia? Do you like the character?
Uh, well, no.
You don't like
I think
Sonia?
well, she's all right. Like she's not one of my favorite characters. She doesn't annoy me either. I'm just neutral towards Sonya, honestly.
Hmm.
I think she's still a little bit cool, but she's also a little bit annoying. So it's like coming back to neutral for me.
Wow. For me, it's the opposite. I really love that character. Actually, I thought she was really cool. We'll get into it a little bit further, but the way I see her is like a Saw Gerrera character from Star Wars, where she's just like a little bit like a Nick Fury, but uses like harder methods or harsher methods.
Right.
I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting. So, what do we learn about Sonya? Well, we learned that first of all, Nick Fury and her already know each other, right? The way they talk, it's like, oh, it's nice to see you again.
Yep.
Yeah, and in that scene, Nick Fury walks around and he touches the eye of an owl, right? If I'm correct, there's
Yep.
a
Well, he puts a little device on it, right?
exactly right. So we learn later that actually he was placing a secret camera, so he knew he was he was gonna get captured, and he places a secret camera to get more information, right? So
Yep.
yeah, I think that was a really cool scene from Nick Fury because he keeps acting like he doesn't know what he's doing. He's limping everywhere. He's not. He seems weak, right? But I think it's all a front for people to underrate him, right?
Right.
So, all right, yeah. We learned exactly that's the exact point that we learned that they're both here to stop the Skrull rebellion. Nick Fury tells her, and we also know that Nick Fury knew Gravik, right? So I think at that point we did know, but now we know. So he knew Gravik. All right, now we move on to the other side, right? So we move on to the scene where a new Skrull, shows up to a nuclear site, and that nuclear site is called New Skrulls, right? And that new Skrull, his name I think is Beto. So
Yep.
he shows up to the gate, and I really love that scene. There's a scene. I think he's asked to go in his natural form. He removes his hat, and by removing his hat, he shapeshifts at the same time. And then when he puts his hat back on, he shapeshifts back to a human. I don't know. I think that scene was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
What do you think about Beto? We haven't seen much of him the first episode, but do you like him?
Yeah. There's enough information for me to decide if I like him or not.
Mm-hmm.
But then it allows us to understand like how these scrolls are feeling, right? And with
Mm-hmm.
the scene of like in the fact that he hasn't eaten in probably months, right? We don't know like
That's
what
true.
they eat, but it seems like they want to eat something different than the humans, and that they can not eat for like several weeks, maybe months, and like they're all probably starving because there's not a lot of like scrolls produced out there, and like so he's really important in that scene to make us understand that these scrolls are suffering, right? Because they don't have a home world to which they can
Mm-hmm.
uh, like appear as natural, feel more comfortable, and have their own produce and eat, right? And so it explains why they are going to such lengths later in the series.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so exactly, they reach New Skrulls, right? And you're right. It's a scene that shows the how the Skrull are suffering by reach. You know, they suffer a lot. I think
Yeah.
Gaia tells him while they're driving, "Oh, all the sacrifice you made to come here was worth it." And then they drive and they see it looks great, right? There's kids playing soccer, young kids playing soccer, and we learn that everyone stays inside except for the warriors who are allowed to leave the compound, right? So for me,
Right.
that's an important information because it means that it's really easy for Graphic to just uphold information, right? He's the one that knows what's happening on the outside, and he could just not tell anyone on the inside. So I guess no one would be opposed to what he's saying. He could say anything and anyone would believe him, right? So I think that's one of
Right.
the biggest reasons why he has such a big following, because he can keep information and just give only the information he needs. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was interesting.
True.
Um,
So yeah, I think that it goes with our earlier point where everyone that like is trying to help themselves, like usually find themselves locked in this graphic system where they fear his authority and what he can do, like, and
yep.
like sure they want to help themselves, they want to help the scrolls, but not at the point of hurting humans. At least most of them don't, right?
Hmm.
But they're still doing it because they fear Gravik and what he might do, right?
Yeah,
So
that's true. Yeah, that's exactly when we go in the next scene after that. It's a new scroll warrior who is being given his shell. They call that a shell, which
yeah,
is what's a shell? It's basically they take a human and then the scroll shapeshifts into that human and steal his memory.
yeah.
Am I correct? Yeah, that's how it works.
So he steals his whole identity basically.
Yeah,
So like,
and they
yeah,
keep the humans so that there's no issue of twice the same human being
exactly.
exactly, right? So yeah, and the shell he's being given is a member of the AAR, or the American Against Russia group. So now I think we have a confirmation that the Skrulls are behind an attack, or that the different terrorist attacks were all part of the Skrull movement, right? Or the Skrull.
Sort of, yeah.
I think they call it rebellion, right? So
I don't remember the
yeah,
exact word.
so yeah, so we've seen part of the Skrull now, which I really like the fact that they're doing both humans, Skrulls, but then we're going back to Nick Fury and Talos and Hill, and I just want to rewind a little bit on another scene earlier when Nick Fury meets Talos. There's a part that I forgot to mention, but it's really interesting. It's the part with there's a plant, right? So when he enters the room, Talos is standing next to a plant, an alien looking plant, and he says that his wife Sauron planted that seed because she believed, that the seed adapted to the earth and was still able to flourish, right? And Nick Fury says that Sauron always believed that, and Talos did as well. And Talos said, "I still do." Right? I think that scene was really cool, really interesting, because it shows that Talos still believed that human and Skrulls could live together on Earth. He believed that Skrulls could adapt and live within the human society. Right? I think that was really important. It's a small detail I forgot to mention earlier. Do you remember that scene with the flower?
Yeah, I do remember it. So like he's saying that it's like this seed will allow his civilization to continue living, or like I don't exactly understand its purpose. Like does it just grow food for his race? Does it
I think it
allow
was
them
just
to
like a
reproduce?
metaphor. I think it was just a metaphor of a seed, the seed adapted to the earth, just like
Mm,
the scroll could adapt to Earth, right? I don't know. I think it
right.
was really interesting, and they touched a little bit about they touched the subject a little bit in the episode 2, I think. So yeah, we'll talk further of that in
Of course.
the next episode. Yeah, sorry. So let's go back. So Nick Fury now is back, and he plays the camera and gives information to Talos and Hill, and they learn that Sonya is going to intercept the bomb transaction in Kazakhstan, right? So that's the next arc of this episode. They go to Kazakhstan. There's Nick Fury that's going to sorry. So Sonya's going with her men to intercept the bomb. Nick Fury is going to stop Sonya and also intercept the bomb. And we have Gaia that is asked to go retrieve that bomb. And we have Beto as the driver, right? So all those different actors are going to meet in Kazakhstan. Right. So Nick Fury tells they go to meet them at the transaction. We see now that's where we officially see it. Talos breaks a hard lock. Do you remember that scene? So they want to enter the location, the transaction location, but there's a lock. There's a hard lock, and Talos just breaks it with his hand. Right. So that's where we
Yeah.
officially learn that skrulls are much stronger than human, right?
Right.
Um, yeah, and there's and then we reach the really cool scene of Nick Fury threatening the Sailor. Um, there's a quote where he says, "Everybody get one lie, nobody gets two." Right? I really love that scene.
Yeah.
That was a great
Cool.
scene. And then he says a second lie. Yeah. So all right. So what happens? They meet the Sailor. Uh, and what did the Sailor do? Do you remember?
So basically, he gives the bombs to the terrorists, and so like he acts as if he has like no idea what's going on, and he's like protecting human history. Right? It's one of the
Mm-hmm.
greater ways to hide yourself from being like identified as a scroll, is to play like the human part really really well,
Mm-hmm.
and he does it really well. Where like he acts as if he cares a lot about the Louis 15 chair and and
Oh
whatnot.
yeah.
So yeah, it was really well made because like it was not really identified and they weren't really sure about it until like Talos followed him and he like witnessed that he had superhuman strength, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So that's exactly it. The seller fights back, right? Or he starts fighting. Uh, so he fights against Talos, right? So he fights against
Yep.
Talos, and that's where we, like you said, we learned that he's officially a scroll since he has super strength. And then they fight, right? Talos and him. Talos is not he's not the strongest scroll. He's old. He's still powerful, but like for a scroll, he's not that strong. So he gets beaten up, and all that time, Nick Fury's right there, ready to shoot. He's ready to shoot the other scroll. And Talos keeps saying, "No, this is my fight. No, no, no." But then it's over, right? The other scroll has the upper hand. He's gonna finish Talos, and then Nick Fury shoots him. Right? He shoots him,
Yep.
and Talos is not happy that Nick Fury interfered. Right? He wanted obviously Talos don't want Skrulls to die. He's a Skrull himself, but Nick Fury didn't have a choice at this point. But I think it shows the character. I think Talos, he's just like the most kind-hearted person in the whole series. I think he loves human, but he also loves Skrulls, obviously. And I think we really saw that in that scene, right?
Yeah.
Um, do you have anything to add to that scene? I think we've.
Well, I think it was a little deeper than that because I feel like Talos is like fine, kind of fine being punished by his own kind because he's not sure himself if he's
Mm-hmm.
um
Doing the right thing.
like being a traitor to his own race, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's doing what he believes is right, and to us, it sure hell looks like he's doing the right thing, right? But to him, where all of his race is like turning slowly against him, he's like not even sure about himself anymore, and so that when he's being like beaten by the other scroll, he's like okay with it because he feel like he deserves it, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
he feels like a traitor, and so that's why when he's being accused of being a traitor by the other scroll, that hurts him deeply because he's actually unsure of that and he actually might believe him, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so when the other scroll is being killed, it just like reinforces these accusations where he feels even more like a traitor because now he's killing his own
Yeah,
kind,
he's
right?
feeling
So,
guilty.
yeah, exactly.
Do you feel that how how mad do you think he was against Nick Fury for killing that scroll? Do you think it's something he will be able to get over, or do you think it's going to be a major deal? Because it was definitely in self defense, right? Nick Fury protecting
I don't think
his
he's
friend,
that
but
mad after Nick Fury. Honestly, it sure looked that way, but I feel like Talos was really, really
he's
feeling
smart.
guilty, and his
Yeah.
guilt was showing toward like the first thing
Hmm.
he could, and he was like demonstrating his anger towards Nick Fury. But really, the result would have been the same. He would have had to kill him eventually anyway, and he would have felt the same guilt.
Hmm.
So it's just a little bit unfortunate that it's Nick Fury that kills him. But Talos is smart, right? And he will know that for sure it's not like Nick Fury's fault,
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
was
yeah.
only trying to help him. But yeah, it is the guilt feeling really that we're witnessing in the form of anger.
Yeah. No, I agree. It was a really good scene. There's a lot of those really good scenes with deeper meaning. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I
and
think
that's the whole show, right? This whole show is about like really,
Characters.
really, really
It's all
deep
about
characters, which
characters.
have many, many sides and are really, really gray and like do
Hmm.
things they don't want to do what they believe is right, and what they believe is right is changing over time. And these
Yeah.
characters, like, yeah, it's just crazy what the potential of this show has, because all any character can just be like replaced instantly by another scroll, and the real person can be like locked in away,
Yeah.
and like the potential for like surprises and is just insane. Like this show is just really, really great writing so far.
Hmm. Yeah, just before we follow up, I just want to, I forgot to mention earlier, but the um, name of the episode, episode one, Resurrection, right? So I feel like
Yeah.
Resurrection, we've talked a little bit about it. Um, whose resurrection is it? Is it just Nick Fury? Is it someone else? Well, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think this could be interpreted in many different ways. So it could be because it's in this episode that we know that the scrolls are willing to like annihilate all humans on Earth using nuclear weapons,
Hmm.
and that so it could be like the resurrection of the scroll race. It could also be like the resurrection uh, of the Nick Fury character, because he's coming back to Earth, and he's currently weak mentally, and he's gonna like uh, find a new purpose, which is gonna make him stronger than he was. So yeah, Resurrection is nicely chosen because it just targets so many different
Hmm.
characters, right?
It could also
It
be
could also,
Talos, of course.
right,
Talos is
because
broken down, lost his wife, lost his kid. So I don't know. It's maybe the resurrection point of Talos as well.
and it could be Gaia's as well, like where
Hmm.
Gaia is like actually noticing that maybe she's on the wrong side, right? So sure, she wants to do something for her race, but maybe her ways are not good anymore. So like she's gonna help Talos into stopping who she's working for, but all at the same time, like she's still unsure, so she's still gonna help him, right?
Hmm.
It's just that she doesn't want people to get hurt while they're doing their plan, right? And yeah, so yeah, I think it's the resurrection for so many characters, and so I don't think it targets one of them specifically.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, that's why it's a great name, right?
Yeah,
So yeah, let's follow up. So that's the fight scene between Talos and the seller. There's Nick Fury that shoots the seller, but we learned that they were too late. So the transaction already happened. Gaia already left with the bomb. Is it bombs? There's multiple bombs, or is it just
yeah.
one?
There was well, multiple bags which are supposed to contain bombs, but then Maria spotted an individual with interest, and she followed her as soon as she left the
Hmm.
building.
So yeah, she follows her, and they fight. And quickly, very quickly, Gaia outfights Maria Hill, and Talos arrives, chases down Gaia, and then I think that's where we learned it's her daughter, right? Or did we? Are we supposed to already know that?
I think we only knew that Gravik was the son of Talos and
No, I don't
like
think it's
the
their son. We learned in the next episode it's not their son. He's
okay. Well,
adoptive
in
son
Captain
maybe.
Marvel, we see one child. I don't know if it's a girl or
Okay, so
a
so
male or a
that's
female.
so that's Gaia then. In Captain Marvel, that must
Okay.
be Gaia.
So, okay, then I must have been confused. I thought it was Gravik.
Okay, no, so it's Gaia, right? So yeah. So we already know that Gaia is the daughter, but I guess now it's for the people who haven't seen Captain Marvel. It's been a long time. I didn't remember either, and you didn't. So now we learn in
Yeah.
the series it's her daughter, right? And then what do we learn? Well, what does Gaia learn? We already know, but her mom is dead. And who's responsible for the death of his mom? It's Gravik,
Gravik.
or at least
Yeah.
Gravik's group, right?
Or that's the at least what Talos insinuating, right?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. He doesn't
so
say it
all these characters
explicitly,
are
but
really, really good liars. So anything is like information that we aren't sure about until we confirm it, right?
yeah.
And even then, like because people can shapeshift, we never know, right?
Hmm.
Um, like evil scrolls can fake their own death at some point. Like they could like kill their body double in front of everyone while they are shapeshifting into another person, and then they could
Hmm.
believe that the scroll is dead while they're not. So yeah, Talos is saying that she's dead, but like, is she really? We have no idea.
That's true. That's true. So yeah, and then what happens is Gaia obviously has a moment, but then hits Talos and runs away with the bomb, right? Um,
Yeah.
right. So she runs away with the bomb. We cut back to Nick Fury, where he goes and meet Maria Hill in a bar in Russia. And when he walks in, he gets insulted by a Russian. He pays the man a drink, and then he sits down with Maria Hill. So here we have another really interesting scene, because we have Hill that asks why Nick Fury was gone, right? These are really
Mhm.
close friends from a long time. And what does Nick Fury say? He says he's building Saber, right? But
Mhm.
immediately, Mara says to him that she doesn't believe him, that he's lying, which is probably true, let's be honest. Um, and she also tells him that he was never the same after the snap and that he isn't ready for what's about to happen, right? I love that
Yeah.
scene. I really love that scene. I feel like this scene really shows um, where Maria Hill is at this point. I feel like she's learned so much and grew so much as a character um, from Nick Fury, obviously. And I think that scene was a perfect showcase of her skills, right? What do you think about that scene?
I think it was also a foreshadowing of what happens later, because she says if Nick Fury is not careful, someone is gonna get hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this was a really good foreshadowing scene. Um,
Yeah, we'll get
but
into
yeah,
it. Let's try to keep it for the scene later. But yeah, I think I agree. A good show foreshadowing scene, and they were playing chess, like we mentioned, the whole chess theme.
right.
Um, I was actually looking at the pieces; they didn't really play that much. A lot of movies, when they play chess, they focus on the chess and the way each character play chess can tell a lot about their character, but they didn't really do that
Oh,
in.
really?
Yeah, they didn't do that in that episode. I think they just moved the pawn.
Oh,
So yeah, but still. All right. So next up, we have Gaia goes up and gives the bomb to one of Gravik's men, right? And she
yep.
tells him that someone was waiting for her, right? And she proposes to postpone the strike. So I feel like now it's obvious that she's feeling guilty, right? Or she's not sure herself about if she's doing the right thing or not. Um, yeah, and she also lies about who was there, right? The guy asked, "Could you identify the man?" And she says, "No, I couldn't." So she's now lying to Gravik, right?
Yeah.
Um, and she definitely feels guilt herself. So I feel like a lot of different characters are in that gray zone where they're not sure they're in the right camp. I feel like you said earlier, Talos feels like he's being a traitor, but she's also feel like she's being a traitor to her father, right? Um,
Yeah.
I really love those characters in this series, man. It's really interesting. Just in the first episode, we've already have a lot of character growth or character presentation or possible endings for all of these characters, right?
Agreed.
Do you have anything to add at this point, or
No, I think
all right?
I've said already what I thought about that scene.
All right. So yeah,
Before even happened.
we have then that Gaia. Oh yeah, Gaia and meets Talos afterwards, right? That was a little bit unexpected for me. I didn't think the change would have been so sudden. But yeah, so Gaia meets Talos and tells him there's an attack tomorrow, and Gravik knows you'll be there, and that there's 3 bombs, right? So this is pushing us into the third act of this episode, where Nick Fury, Talos, and Maria Hill are searching for the bombs, right? I love that scene. They have, I think that it's probably a Stark technology, right? They have glasses where they can see infrared, so they can see
Right.
bags with bomb. I think that was really cool.
Yeah.
And they're there to chase down the carriers, right? But what happens is they miss the pass.
The pass. We missed the
Yeah,
pass.
we missed the
Yep.
pass, and then they're forced to separate. There are 3 bombs and there are 3, right? So they all separate, chase down a different bomber, or a different bomb carrier,
Yep.
and I so Maria is chasing one. We have Talos chasing another, and obviously we have Nick Fury who is chasing Gravix, right? And there's a very cool scene, or yeah, multiple scene where Nick Fury chases him, but like they're still walking slowly because they don't want everyone to see them in the crowd. And he follows him, and he keeps shape shifting from one person to
Yeah,
another, like passing
and
behind
I
an
think
object. Yep,
this was my favorite scene for a particular reason. Is that I think that Gravik was like
provoking him.
narging, like
Hmm.
yeah, it was provoking him. It was showing him that all of these characters that he's met in previously in this episode were actually agents working for him. Like the little girl walking at night when he was walking, that was a scroll agent working for him.
Oh wow!
And
I
then
didn't even catch that. That's true.
yeah, and then
Okay.
later at the bar, the Russian guy,
Y-
another scroll agent working for him, right? He was showing him the agents that he's met that got him the information that they are spying on Nick Fury, and he was just like really like attacking him with these shape shiftings, right?
I
So then
didn't even
Nick Fury
catch
was like,
that.
"What the?" Yeah, but Nick Fury was like a little bit depressed at not having realized any of these, right?
But
So he felt like
what about? That's how Nick Fury's strong. Nick Fury could know that. He could
right.
know with the guy when he pays the guys a drink. He could know, right? And that's maybe why he didn't give any information to Maria Hill when they were playing chess. Wow, there's so much to unpack here. I think I have to go check that
Yeah.
episode again.
Yeah, that,
Wow,
that scene is
that's
my favorite scene of the episode just before because it also shows like Gravik will give like suboptimal information just to provoke him because and at that point I knew that the whole purpose Gravik had in mind was like punishing Nick. So at this point I knew like something bad is gonna happen and that and it's gonna like not to Nick like Nick Gravik wants to hurt Nick but not kill him, right? So
mhm.
I knew something bad was going to happen to one of the characters at that really moment when he was showing, like when I saw the guy at the bar and he was showing him that all this time it was one of his agents.
Mhm.
I was certain that all he wanted to do really was like to provoke him and hurt him.
So yeah, and
And yeah,
that says a lot about the graphics character.
yeah,
Um,
for sure.
he is definitely angry at Nick Fury for some reason we don't know at this point, or
No, we don't.
the fact that he didn't fulfill his promise, perhaps. But yeah, it tells a lot about the character of Gravix, right? And that's something Nick Fury is really good to leverage normally, but we'll have to see in the series. Um, just want to add one more thing. I love that scene, but it made no sense. I mean, the way he was shape shifting, he was doing it in front of everyone. And he was shape shifting from like a
True.
little girl to like a very large man. So it wasn't just a face that was changing; it was the whole body type. So yeah, it was cool. It
Yeah.
was cool for the shot for the camera, but I mean, there's no way no one would have noticed. But yeah,
The people were kind of looking like at the stage, which was away from where he was standing, and
I guess. But I
like
mean,
the
it was
cam-
in the
so the,
middle of a crowd. Like,
yeah, but how the shot was made is that they were walking towards the crowd, right? So the crowd was all looking at in the same direction, and he was passing towards objects, which would make anybody in the crowd like behind these objects would be the only ones able to see him. But since he was passing like behind objects, it wasn't so obvious, right?
I know, but
And all of the people
still, he
behind
should
him
have.
were looking away. So
I know, but
yeah,
still, he was shape shifting without like he would have like have to look to his right, to his left to make sure, and that shape shift. Like I don't know, come on, there was a little bit of a weird. Anyway, yeah, I'll give it a pass. It was a really cool scene, but I think
right.
like there's some parts that were making a lot of sense, right? But doesn't matter. All right, so yeah, he shape shifts. Nick Fury follows him, and now we have the big one. So what happens? What happens when once he follows him in the middle of the crowd?
The crowd goes boom.
The crowd goes boom. So the bomb explode. I was not expecting. So you were, I wasn't. I don't think Marvel. I didn't think Marvel had the balls. That was so dark.
Um,
So go ahead.
Yeah, well, Gravik said earlier that the bags that he gave to Gaia were baits. Like we knew already before that whole scene. We knew already that these bags were baits. So then at this point, like after the moment where uh, like he shapeshift in front of Nick Fury. Like I knew they would blow, and I thought they would blow, killing like a one of the characters, one of the agents of Nick Fury. But yeah, I knew, I think I suspected that something like I did not suspect that the bombs would explode in the crowd. I suspected that the bombs would explode like at Nick Fury's things or
Hmm.
whatever.
So actually, you're getting to it, but so one of the character gets hurt, but it's not by the bomb, right?
Yeah,
So the bomb explodes, and in the chaos, Maria Hill is trying to find Nick Fury. She finds him. Nick Fury pulls out a gun and shoots her. And obviously, that wasn't Nick Fury. That was Gravik.
yeah,
That was shapeshifted as Nick Fury. So now we have
exactly. Which
Maria
makes it
Hill.
even
Yeah,
darker, right?
exactly. So Maria Hill is shot, I think in the stomach. She's laying on the
Yeah.
ground.
Hmm.
So I guess she's dead. I mean,
Yeah, she looks like a dead person to me at this point, and the fact
yeah,
that she still does not understand why, like Nick Fury was a scroll or something. Like for her, like she just got shot by Nick Fury, and then Nick Fury came back and hold her, right? And she did not understand
yeah.
what just happened, and like. Yeah, the fact that she dies is confused is just really really dark, and
But
it hits right, and it sets the tone for this new show,
exactly,
where Marvel
exactly.
is not going to be afraid in this show to kill beloved characters which have been
And I
around for long.
love it. I
Yeah,
loved it. But for me, at the end of this episode, it just cut to dark after that, right? I mean, she could have still lived at that point. We don't know, right?
sure.
We don't know. But it's like they're strongly implying that she's dead. She's been shot. She's very deeply wounded, lying on the ground, blood everywhere. So I guess she's dead. I guess that's it. It's sad. I love the character. And actually, with
Yeah,
this episode, I wanted to see so much more of her. I thought she was going to take the lead from Nick Fury. Um, but she could always come back, right? There's we'll have to see. We'll have to see in
well,
episode
she
2.
could come back in alternate universes, you
Yeah,
said.
but like Nick Fury
Um,
fake his death. No, I think he got shot, fake his death in Winter Soldier. Um, it could be one thing that Mary Hill would do, right? It's the she could have a bullet vest, and well, I guess there's blood. There wouldn't be any
well, there
blood,
was
right?
blood all over. I think
Yeah,
it's really unlikely that we're gonna see this variation of Earth's Maria come back. I
yeah.
think she's dead.
So yeah, so that's it. That's the first episode. I want to say I love the mystery about it. This episode or this series so far. I really love the theming. I love the fact that there's no superpower involved. That is grounded. It feels different. It feels unique. For me, it's a awesome, cool vibe to the series. I think it's really great. Um, what are your thoughts? Your final thoughts for this episodes? For this
Yeah, I
episode?
think this episode like is not like it is really good, but I think it's more like setup. It's currently building up for some
Exactly.
really big moments, and not only and usually like episodes which are supposed to be build ups are usually slower and more boring. But this series has so much potential that even on the build up episodes, it's just so much intriguing
If we
and
compare
fun
it
to watch.
to like WandaVision, let's say, right?
I don't think
The
it's
first
close.
3 episodes were much slower than this one
Exactly.
combined. Like
Oh,
there's less thing happening in those 3 episodes than in this one episode.
right, and I feel like WandaVision, like all of the episodes except like the two lasts, were build-ups. A little bit like What If, right?
Hmm.
And what is fun about Secret Invasion is that the build-up episodes are, in my opinion, even better than the well or close to the crescendos at the end of the build-ups for the other series. And so I feel like this series is not even close to the others.
Hmm. And so, what do you think about the cast? There's Emilia Clarke playing Gaia, Samuel
Yeah, that was cool.
Jackson. What about? I think all of the cast members were great.
Yeah,
I think it's perfect. I think they're perfectly cast. Um, yeah, but yeah, no, this episode it's a slow start. I agree. Well, slower start, I guess, or setup would be the right term. But I think it's a great start. It's a great setup. And so
yeah.
I guess we'll hop into final verdict. What's your final verdict? Give me a rating out of 10 and explain to me why.
So I will give it a rating of 8 out of 10, just because I'm really giving rough ratings as general to give to keep room to grow. And I feel like in this show I will need these 2 additional points at some point. So I'll keep it low for now at 8 over 10.
Yeah. So yeah. By the way, just a reminder: we use so 6 is not passing grade. So 5 is like average, or 5 is average. 6 we're slightly above average. 7 above average. Then 8, 9, 10. There we go in good and great territory, right? So for me
Yeah.
as well, I'm also gonna give it 8 out of 10. I was actually thinking of maybe giving a strong 7 or a low 8,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
honestly, I have nothing really wrong to say about it. We don't have any action, but like for a setup episode, I think that is fine. That's what we need. And the thing about setups episode is I feel like they're all dependent on the following episodes. If the setups are followed through, then it gives so much more to the setup. But there's a
Yep.
few things I didn't catch. That's why I'm pushing it just to the 8th level. With the thing with the different shape shifting that I didn't catch, where he was nagging him,
Right.
that is really cool. I feel like that adds so many layers because now it's like,
Yeah.
oh, he knows. Well, so he was taunting him because he was shapeshifting. He was always spying on him, but then it adds also the layer that's like, does Nick Fury know that he is spying on him? So that's why he's not giving any information, and just add layers on
Right.
like, I know that you know that I know that you know type of thing, which is
Exactly.
I think
And it's
really cool.
just and with the scrolls, it's just crazy how many layers you can add without actually giving any words, right? Just
Mhm.
with the shape shifting thing in the scene, there was no words, and like we just added like several layers to this
Yeah.
interaction between Nick Fury and Gravik, just because of the shape shifting, right? And it's
Mhm.
just so crazy, like the potential for the show is just insanely high, and I can't wait to see what Marvel is cooking for us.
I agree. I agree. I'm just gonna give a little note. I'm scared. I think it's a great start, but I'm just scared with Marvels because Marvel movies and Marvel project is they often start really well with a unique concept,
Yeah,
and then they go in that Marvel typical end storyline where everyone has superpowers, and then there's a big
with great
CGI fight.
potential with great
Comes,
potential, such as Game of Thrones, comes the absolute certainty that you're gonna fuck it up.
yeah, well, exactly. I think we're just scared or we're cautiously optimistic. That's the way I'm feeling.
Right, because
It's a
last time
great
Emilia
start.
Clarke had a great show. There was a lot of great potential, but then the cast it was wasted away. And so
Yeah,
I hope that this time Emilia Clarke is gonna break the curse, but let's see.
yeah. But yeah, all right. So it's it's been an hour, but thank you guys so much for watching. It's really fun for me and for us to review this. We're gonna review every single episode, so we're gonna have another probably hour-long episode to record shortly. But thank you guys so much for watching. That's gonna be it for episode 1 of Secret Invasion. And yeah, take care, guys. Bye, guys.